In today's farming world, there's a lot of time that's wasted. People do not understand what they are doing. They do not have a good tracking system for what needs to be done. They haven't clarified responsibilities for their employees. And unfortunately, there's a lot of overlap in responsibilities, and that which that leads to because nobody's solely responsible for that task, nothing ever gets done in that area. I see this over and over and over again in my coaching. I've seen this over in my career. It's an extremely bad management system. It creates a lot of emotional stress for the producers. It makes them feel like they're almost trapped within their business. These are areas that we need to grow beyond. It takes approximately 1,800 hours a year for a CEO to run their operation. I can almost guarantee you if you're listening to this video and you're running an agricultural operation that you're not spending anywhere near enough time focusing on the elements to run your business because you're too busy or interested in being in it. You need to get back to the basics and understand what it takes to manage employees, manage your P&L, manage your balance sheet, and really invest in a wise manner as a business owner. These are things that we focus on deeply here within the coaching division at Legacy Farmer, things that we will push you, help you stay accountable for, and grow beyond to a point of efficiency that you've never seen before. I have people ask me what the most common management system is for farmers, and I'm going to say that using system is a really, really bold term because I think it's more reaction. There's no system. There's no process. It is, we do what needs to be done today at the moment, right? Well, the problem with that is there's always something that needs to be done. There's always something breaking down, and assuming that's not going to happen is just setting yourself up for failure. And so we need to grow beyond the reactionary farming system and get to be proactive and deliberate about our choices. When we become proactive and deliberate, we start generating more money, more cash flow. We create a better work environment for our employees. And then ultimately, the business is no longer running you. You're moving into a point of running that business, which means, it's kind of hard to believe, maybe some time to spend with your family and then improving the internal dynamics of your household, spending more time with your kids and being a part of their lives instead of having to rush to the parts store, instead of having to rush to this employee because they don't know what they're supposed to do when the sprayer breaks down or how to hook up a fertilizer shuttle or when they have a calving issue. These are things that are inherent in every operation that can be systemized, that can be articulated and projected. And we should be doing that if we want to be profitable and then ultimately create the wealth that we all desire to head to the next generation. If I want to really dive in and think about what the most common time sucks are on an operation is wasting time in dealerships and parts stores, spending time trying to educate or re-educate employees that you already have, looking for things that you have that you can't find, not understanding what the task is next and not who to hand it to or not trusting an individual to hand it to them, which ends up leading you to do medial jobs that are well below your pay grade as an operator of a multi-million-dollar farming operation. Often when I'm coaching people, I like to bring up an analogy that I think resonates. I live in Northwest Arkansas and Tyson is not too far from us. They're headquartered down the road. And I worked in poultry lending for a while, so this one kind of sits near and dear. I think about Tyson's CEO, and that is a large company with thousands of employees and locations around the world. And he's in charge of managing the personnel and making sure that everybody has the resources they need in order to do their job, that cash is available to keep operations going. The board has somebody to call when there's questions. And then ultimately, those managers that are dealing with employee issues or et cetera, all have answers at their fingertips. Let's say one day on one of Tyson's deboning lines locally here in Springdale, Arkansas, they're down a deboner. And that CEO raises his hand and says, "Hey, I can do that job. I'm just going to hop on down there and start deboning chicken. We don't need to be down a deboner." That is one element of the multitude of elements that have to be managed on a day-to-day basis. What happens when the CEO, who's ultimately responsible for reporting to the banks, the board of directors, the insurance companies, and everything just disappears? and decides to start deboning chicken. Yeah, you might have deboned chicken a little bit better, but the reality is, and he may be phenomenal, he may be the best deboner that's ever been. But is he more important on the deboning line, or is he more important managing the books and keeping their eye on their long-term goals and making sure that each department, and that if you're going to relate this back to your equipment and to your land and to your business, that all of these elements are working together and that we're making good, sound financial decisions that contribute to the bottom line and the long-term goals of the company. And I'm going to say that answer ought to be very apparent to you guys. If not, I think that's even more reason that you should be clicking the link at the end of this video and we should be having a discussion. So my recommendation for you today, if you're really wondering if any of this applies to you, pull open a note on your phone or keep a manila notepad and start tracking the date and time of every little thing you do in your operation. When you start looking at that, I mean every little thing. If you stop to fill up a cup of coffee, you stop at the dealership, you stop at it. We need to start getting a handle on what it takes to operate you and your operation. I think you're going to be very surprised because I do this exercise with so many different producers. Every single one of them are surprised the amount of time that is wasted in a day because of the fact they don't have a clear plan. So start tracking your time today, and we love to hear your comments about what you're discovering in this process. I'm going to draw an analogy or I'm going to draw an illusion. If this applies to you guys, I'm going to really stress that you guys reach out to Legacy Farmer. You're stressed because your family doesn't feel like they're getting enough out of you, either your spouse or your kids. Your operations are suffering. Your employees are upset. You have people that are always asking for raises, don't really know what they're doing, and you feel like that they're not doing their job well, that you feel lost in your financials. These are all things that are required of a CEO of your operation. And here you've got one of two decisions. You either decide to be the CEO of your operation or you find somebody to be the CEO of your operation. Really and truly, the alternative is not a realistic possibility. So the alternative is really just sell out and be done with farming. So if you can't figure out how to rise above the mud and what you constantly get dragged into, you're going to end down to a path that the legacy is going to end with you. So if any of this sounds like something that you're dealing with currently, we would love for you to click the link below. We'd love to have a discussion. I know we have the resources over here. Our coaches are highly qualified individuals that have lived in the trenches and been there on the front lines with you. Not to mention, they are most definitely technical aspects, experts when it comes to the financial aspects of your business, as well as catering to the team and the goals of your operation. So please click the link below.